Yo, what's good, everybody? Today is February the 27th, 2024. Most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you, God, for another opportunity of prayer. Thank you, God, for allowing us to see yet another day, oh God. Thank you, God, for one another's company. We thank you, God, for just being who you are. We thank you, God, for the gift of salvation and you being the keeper of all things, oh God. I ask God that you will bless this broadcast as well as our viewers and their families, as well as the guests and his family on this evening, oh God. We thank you. Bless our conversation. And we ask all these things in the mighty and matchless name of Jesus, we pray. Amen. Yo, what's good, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. Let me know let me know exactly which one you guys are streaming from. Uh Whether you're watching on Facebook or whether you're watching on YouTube, either way, get in the comments, be a part of the show, be a part of the conversation. And as usual, thank you all for your support. Um, Trying to get them pulled up real quick. I'm gonna start with some Born Day shout outs. Uh, while we doing that, I want to say happy Born Day to my man Big O. Happy Born Day to Karen Wilson, sis. Happy Born Day, girl. I love you. My aunt Denise Stanford, Mo, my boo Mo McCullum, my cousin Dylan. Happy Born Day, kid. Shonda Blackwell, Kimberly Daughtry, the beautiful, talented previous guest Teresa B. Howell, Lorraine Ufre, my man Barry Jackson, number 20, high school teammate, Denise Anthony, my man Kenny Harrington, and happy born day to Tiny, my cousin as well. Happy born day to the bro, Ray Butler. Happy born day to Sherry Moose, our sister. Love you, girl.
Yeah.
And happy heavenly born day to my man Rich Wilson, man. We definitely miss you, big bro. Um, I was just talking about you last week, and I don't think I've ever shared this with you, kid. But my man Rich, he was in the army. He was over there in Hawaii. That's why I went to Hawaii
Mm.
with for 2 weeks. Back at what is it, Wheeler Air Force, Wheeler Base over there. Not sure if
Willer?
that's the Air Force base, right?
No, the Air Force Base over there is
McKinley or something.
man, man, it's been a while.
Yeah, Wheeler is the Army base though, right?
I think that's the Army base. I'm
Yeah,
trying to remember.
because it's two different ones. It's like the Army and then the Air Force is right there together.
Hickam. Hickam
There
Air
you
Force
go. There you
Base.
go. Hickam.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so we was
Hickam.
over there at Willem with him, and that was the actual one time I actually got to meet Tupac Shakur, yo, on some just straight up random. 1995, 94,
Ah.
95. It was crazy, man. But shout out to my boy, big bro Rich. Definitely miss, man. Definitely not forgotten, man. I appreciate you, miss you, and love you, bro. Um, with that being said, I want to say congratulations to everybody that hit milestones, whether it be anniversaries, wedding, uh, working, whatever the case may be. Shout out to all you guys. Shout out to everyone, and my condolences and prayers to all those that lost family members and friends on this previous week. My heart goes out to you guys. Know that you are my continual prayers. Um, it was a couple. I know several individuals that had lost in their families. I just want to say I don't want to say any names because I'm not sure how it's been displayed to the rest of the family and all that there. But know that my condolences and my prayers are with you all as well. With that being said, like I said in the pre-show announcement, that's what big bros do. I told him, said, listen, man, it's been a minute since you've been on. He said, let's do it. Wasn't no hesitation, though, nothing.
Yes,
I miss
sir.
having these conversations with my bro because every time he
Man.
comes on, we always have a good time, laugh, and educate ourselves on certain matters as well. So with that being said, I want to introduce to the Marvin Bennett Jr. Show once again, Dr. Kevin Denley. I love throwing that doctor out there, man.
Yeah,
What's
what's
good with
good?
you,
What's
bro?
good, man? Bro, just chilling, man. We wifey and I are trying to get up out of here. You know, we're about to embark on this nomadic living
Mhm.
lifestyle. So we're trying to get everything together and get on up out of Florida. So with the crazy politics and all the other madness going on.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Why you right there? Let me ask you, how did this come about? What was this conversation about? Like, yo, we just going to do a gypsy style. Like, how did it
We,
come
you
about?
know, we actually, we've been together for. I mean, we've been married for 6 years, but we've been together for 11. Um, and it's a conversation we started having some years back because we both love to travel. We travel a lot. Um, and it was just something where one more thing that we aligned on, where it's like, yeah, we don't, I don't know how we feel about, we own the house and all that sort of thing, and it's like, I don't know that we want to do that. We just want to be free to go and see and do whatever we want to go see and do. And but the timing wasn't right when we started having a conversation. I mean, at that point we were still living in Jersey. The girls were all still at home. There was just stuff going on. And so over the last couple of years, things started to kind of work themselves out a little bit. The girls are now all out on their own, doing their thing. They're in their 20s and doing their thing. And mom is in good health and all that sort of stuff. So it just felt like a good time to go and do it, while we're still young enough to be able to do that.
Mhm.
So that was pretty much what it came down to, man. We just love to travel, and we don't want moss growing under our feet. We just want to be able to go and do and see. And so that's what we decided to do, man. We're selling most of our stuff, and the stuff that we are keeping, we're going to put in a pod, and we jumping in our SUV, and we going.
That's
We're
what's
just
up.
going. We already got the year all set up. We already got all of our Airbnbs and hotels booked for the year in different places, and we actually already have most of next year planned out as well. So, yeah, we just gonna go and do
Now, is it primarily going to be here, or are you going international as well?
both. This year it's gonna be all domestic. It's gonna be all in the U.S.
Okay.
But starting next year, we have some plans to be out of the country for a little bit. So yeah. We're gonna kind of be all over the place. Like this year, we'll be spending a month in South Dakota, a month in Colorado. We got a few weeks in San Diego, got a couple of weeks in Vegas and Arizona, and we're gonna spend in Utah as well. And then we're also gonna spend the fall and winter out in New Mexico. So,
Okay.
because we're not trying to be in a place where it's cold. So,
I know that's right. I know that's
not
right.
that it doesn't get, not that it can't get cold, but we'll be in the southern part of New
Yeah.
Mexico, and for the most part, even during the winter times, they have mild winters. So,
Yeah, it's crazy because
so
I'm
that's the
actually in the
plan.
process of planning a trip. Actually, two separate trips out to Mexico. Got two visits I need to make out that way. Let my presence be felt. So, but I hope you were smart enough to book Colorado around college football season.
Yeah. It'll be in that area anyway. I'll get to see some practice and some different things. But yeah, so we'll the season won't but again they'll be practicing, so I'll get
Okay.
an opportunity to go and see some practices.
Yeah, because I said I
So
definitely want to try to get out there for a game this year. If not this, yeah,
yeah,
definitely this season here. Like those tickets were
yeah,
selling like hotcakes last night.
yeah, for
Dion, my
sure, for
guy,
sure.
and it's just
Yeah.
crazy. I think me being a Florida State Seminole fan, it just they missed a golden opportunity over politics and didn't want Dion to show up the program, so to speak, and all. It's so crazy. It's to me like it's funny how we pick these teams when we younger and before when
Yeah.
we still naive to the world, and then you start learning
Right.
all
Right.
the intricacies as we get older. And it's like,
Right.
man, I always tell people. I was joking with somebody the other day. I said, I was like, I can't even remember the last time me and you had a Cowboy Giant argument or discussion.
Yeah.
Period. You know what I mean? When that was like the random
Right.
thing back then. And I remember
Yeah.
having this conversation. I remember physical fights in high school
Yeah.
over
Right.
the Giants and the Cowboys and it was maybe about 10, 15 years ago now. I was going back and forth arguing with a family member that's a Cowboy fan, and the people that don't know how we talk to each other, they looking like,
Right.
dude, we need to call the police, like and all that
They
thing.
about to
Like, nah,
throw hands.
we talk. That's the way we communicate with one another. Ain't no smoking nothing. But I started thinking about. I said, you know what? I said, here it is. We going back and forth. we doing better than Stephen A. Smith, John Mara, Jerry Jones, or anybody defending these jokers. I said, as long as I've been a Giant fan, I ain't never got a birthday card. All the games I've been
a
to,
free ticket.
I ain't never got a free ticket,
Yeah.
free parking, a program, no
Absolutely.
nothing.
Yeah.
Here it is. We doing all of this. They don't even know that we exist. I was like, you know what?
Agreed.
That's waste. That's what they call nowadays a waste of energy. I was like, I refuse to go back and forth in the banner these days because it's just not that serious, especially when these people don't know that you exist.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. It's really not even that serious, man. It truly isn't. So, I stay away from those arguments now. I mean, I'm okay to have a conversation about some of the stuff. We're talking about sports, we're talking about teams or whatever. Yeah, but getting into all of the back and forth. Oh, your team sucks, and it just, I just don't have time for that, man. Like you said, it's that I'm not on that level with that energy anymore. So
it's one of those sad parts of maturity. Like it's just not fun anymore. I remember when it was fun. Like it's just no fun to it.
Right.
Like I guess it's just mature.
There's so many other important things going on in the world, things that really matter in the world. You know what I mean? And so me having an argument or over a sports team, it's just so trivial. It's so trivial. It's trivial. So I don't have time for that.
All right. Well, shoot, before we get into the heavy hitters, let's start with some light ones. And like I said, I've asked you this before on previous shows. I got to go back to pull up the tape to see the differences because, like I was telling my guest last week, Miss Cookies, you can ask this question over and over again, and I guarantee you it's going to always be different the next time, depending on the day of the week. But let's start with what's your favorite word?
Oh man. I want to say, I feel like the last time you asked me this, I used a phrase, and I think it was cognitive dissonance because I do love that phrase. But my favorite word, and like you said, I'm sure if you ask me again tomorrow, it would be different. Yes, sir. I guess that's what I would go with right now.
All right. What's the least favorite word?
Can't.
I don't think that one ever changed for neither one of us. Like,
don't tell me what I can't do. Don't tell me what you can't do.
Yeah.
So,
favorite food.
Oh, that has definitely changed since my eating habits have had to change over the last 13 months with some issues I was having and still to some degree am having. But man, I guess what is my favorite food these days? Man, probably rice, man. Brown rice.
Okay.
It's probably my favorite right now. So
getting prepared for that life on the road, huh?
Yeah, for sure.
Always find some rice, right?
Gotta be brown rice though.
All right. Five dinner guests, dead or alive.
Malcolm X, Mark Lamont Hill, Miriam Francois, my grandfather, and Lauren London.
Gotta have some my candy at the table. Gotta have some my candy at the table. I didn't even think about Lauren. I had to have a woman representative when I answered that question last week. And of course I went educational because it was all intellectual people at the table. So I went with Mama Maya Angelou. Just to have a deep enough woman to be able to have that conversation. I don't think Lauren would have been able to have the same conversation with Malcolm.
But Miriam Francois.
I was going to ask you, man, educate me on who that, because I'm not sure who that is.
Did I just go mute or did you?
Huh?
I lost you. I don't know if I just went mute or if you did.
No, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
I'm not sure what it is.
Oh, I know what happened. I'm sorry. Somebody, I'm sorry. Let me see if I can reconnect. My bad. Somebody was
Oh, you
just trying
good?
to call me, and my AirPods switched
Okay, got you.
from the computer. I might just have to take these out for a little bit because I don't know what's going on now. Can you hear me still?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Can't you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, I just had to
All right.
take the
I was just
AirPods out.
messing with you that first time. I said, let me
Yeah.
stop because he can make sure that he can hear me again. But yeah, educate me on who she is.
She is she in fact she's the one who if you remember it's been I guess a couple of months ago now when I posted something about her documentary on
Okay,
my
okay.
Instagram page and
Yeah,
you
on
asked how
Instagram.
you could find it and she responded to you
Hmm.
about how you can find it. It's her,
That's
but
her. Okay.
she's a journalist. She's French, she's Muslim. Um she's actually been in a couple of movies as well, but she's a journalist for BBC. Um, she's also been on Al Jazeera and some other. She's just big in the journalist world and in the media world, and she's all about educating people on what's going on in the world. She's got a PhD from Georgetown. Um, here, and I think she got a master's degree in Oxford. But yeah, she's just man, she's incredible. She's good people, and I'm fortunate enough to call her friend as well. Yeah, she just we she's amazing. She's just amazing. So
Okay.
yeah.
Now, when you say, and that's one thing that I was always and I meant to pull that up. I'm gonna do that while you talking, but that's one of those aspects. Now I haven't lost that when it comes to high school. Like I'm proud to be a Rough Rider. Like, because for the simple fact, like I throughout my travels and I throughout the country, I've never heard of any other Rough Riders other than West Side. Like you hear about the Mustangs and the Cowboys and the Tigers and all that. There, we the only Rough Riders that I know.
Yeah.
I take pride in being in a West Side Rough Rider. But I was always somewhat halfway jealous of you just because you got the opportunity and chance to go to Malcolm X, Shabazz High School. Like, and knowing who Malcolm X and what he means to us, I always thought that was cool because that's why I was saying I was going to look up. I'm not sure how many schools are actually named after Malcolm X. Like that seems to be a rarity as well.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
what did that mean and what was that like for you?
Man, it was an experience. I mean, as you know, I didn't start off there, right? I was at
Mm-hmm.
Newark Tech for 2 years and then transferred to Shabazz for my junior and senior year. But man, it was enlightening. We probably didn't talk about him as much as a lot of people might think we would have, considering the school was named after him. But
Mm-hmm.
there was obviously discussion. There was some reads. He truly became my hero the first time I read um, autobiography of Malcolm X. And since then, I will say, and I think for a lot of people who consider him to be their hero, that's kind of where it started for them, right? Was the autobiography of Malcolm X, co-written obviously with Alex Haley. But as I have found out over the years, that isn't even the best book to read about Malcolm X because it's a bit watered down. A lot of it is just strictly from Malcolm's point of view, and it came from what he wanted you to know, right? There have been some other books that have come out that have really delved into the man and the person that he was, his conflicts, all those different things. And then the other thing I would say about the autobiography of Malcolm X is that, and Felicia and I were actually just having this conversation too, is that Alex Haley, and a lot of people may not even know this, he, I'm not going to say he wasn't a fan of Malcolm X, but he was not a fan of Malcolm X's
Yeah,
politics.
yeah.
Um, Alex Haley was a Republican. He was integrationist. right? And so, in all honesty, really, his book was more of a caution, right, to white
Mhm.
America. Like, look, if you don't fix the race problem in this
That's what we
country,
gonna be dealing with.
this is what you get,
Yeah.
type of thing. But he wasn't even a fan of Malcolm's politics. So a lot of what you read came through his lens. And so there are better books to read that really get into Malcolm, because I don't feel like the autobiography touched enough on Malcolm's politics, on his, I mean, he was, I don't know that anybody was able to reinvent themselves in history, right? The way that he was able to.
And
He
multiple
was,
times at that.
say again.
I said, and multiple times at that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, he went from being Malcolm Little, right? He was born
Mhm.
Malcolm Little to becoming Detroit Red, went from Detroit Red to Malcolm X, and then from Malcolm X to El Haj Malik El Shabazz. And so all of these different, you know, transformations that he made, man, and he did it unapologetically. He wasn't afraid because he was such a critical thinker, right? A
Mhm.
lot of people can't transform that way because, unfortunately, it seems like more often than not, people are they're set in their ways, right? They have these belief systems,
Mhm.
and that's just it. That's the
Yeah.
way that it is. This is what I was taught growing up, and this is just the way that it is. And if you try to introduce any sort of new information to them that
Fake
contradicts the way
news.
they
Fake
feel,
news.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And so, and he did not back down from that, man. He was not afraid to change his thoughts. I mean, even at the end, when you think about when he made the Hajj, which is where the El Hajj came from, in the
Mhm.
El Hajj Malik El Shabazz, because once um, a Muslim makes the pilgrimage to Mecca, they earn that title of El Hajj. But his writings from El Hajj, and how he started viewing, kind of, when he talked about, right, the letters that he wrote to Betty, to his wife, where he was saying, this is crazy to me, this is amazing. We got white brothers and sisters, and black brothers and sisters all communing together. And so his views on things change when new information is introduced. You process it, right, and you do something with it. You don't just toss it or discard it. And I love that. That's probably the thing. Not probably. That is absolutely the thing that I loved most about him.
Mhm.
Right, was his ability to do that. Was to get new information, process it, and utilize it, and say, you know what? Okay, this line of thinking that I had over here wasn't quite right. Maybe it wasn't all the way wrong, but I was missing these pieces as well, right? I didn't have this critical piece of information. And so now I have that. So now I have to change the way that I view some things. And again, not everybody's able to do that. And I love that about him. I got that from him. I think that's why I'm able to, and I'm certainly not comparing myself to him by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
But again, I think um, that's where I gleaned that from, was
Mhm.
from him. Just an amazing, amazing human being. So
Yo, what's good, Jen? Hey, late last minute, happy born day again, Al Tucker, the bro, Al Tucker, happy born day, Al.
oh, happy birthday, Al.
Uh, yeah. For me, when you're talking in terms of Malcolm, though, it was more or less, and not everything that you said, I agree with. For me personally, though, it was more of his level of commitment. You know, when
No
I
question.
think of Malcolm, when I think of Bishop, um, I think about, that's the first word that always comes to me. Is servant, and your level of commitment. What you're willing to die for. As we talked about him last week, because we did the show instead of Tuesday, we did the show on the anniversary last Wednesday, on the anniversary of his assassination. And again, not when he was killed, when he was assassinated, because I think
Absolutely.
that words are very important.
I
He
agree
was definitely
100%.
assassinated.
Yeah.
And it was like, I remember reading as I was preparing for the show throughout the week, talking about the night that they bombed his house.
Mhm.
Less than 24 hours later, dude is in Detroit, still speaking.
Yeah,
Not that he
absolutely.
didn't care about his wife, not that he didn't care about his
Yeah.
daughters. he was committed to the cause, right?
Yep.
Committed to not only the cause, but us, his people.
Yep.
People that didn't believe like he believed, people that didn't accept him. Like it was so much, even though think about this, ironically, even though it's of a different and is of the Islamic and Muslim faith, he was more Christ-like than some Christians that I know.
Right. No doubt about it.
This dude was willing to lay down his life for what he believed, and not just what he believed, but for the sake of everybody else.
No doubt.
I mean? No, I'm not selling that. I don't care what the government is trying to offer me. I don't care what kind of money they got. No, you can't silence me. Yeah. Because it's an atrocity the way you treat my people here in America, and the way brown and black people get treated abroad as well. It wasn't just about here in America. It was bigger than just us. It was
no doubt.
Planet. Like,
yep,
dude, I get chills when I think about it, because like I think about it like from a personal standpoint. Like, if each and every one of us could ever find something to be that committed to, what a better world we would live in. I don't even care what it is, but that level of commitment. Hey, man, listen, they just bought my house, man. Hey, listen, I hope y'all understand, but we're going to have to cancel this and move this another time. I need to get my family situated and all. You know what I mean? Like, and it wouldn't have been nothing wrong with that either, but nah, y'all not going to silence me, because the show going to go on.
I do think, though, that there are a lot of people out there with that level of commitment, but I think for me, it's more about being committed to something that's not involving hate, that's involving exclusion. You know what I mean? Because when you think about it, think about extremists, right? They are every bit as committed as he was, right? I mean, it takes that level of commitment to be a suicide bomber.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so there are people out there committed to that extent, but unfortunately, their focus and what they're committed to is not. It involves hate, you know what I mean? And again, and exclusion and things of that nature. So yeah, but yeah, no, getting back to him for sure, man, his level of commitment was, you can't even call it dedication. There's something that I heard some years back, when when you think about your breakfast, right? You think about eggs and bacon on a plate, right? To get those eggs, the chicken had to be dedicated. Right. But to get that bacon, the pig had to be committed. You know what I mean? The chicken was just laying some eggs. That pig had to die for the cause. So there's a difference between dedication and commitment. And he was absolutely committed. No question about that. So.
Yeah, and I did look that up. It said it's 7 U.S. public schools, not even just high school. It's 7 public schools throughout the United States that's named after Malcolm X.
Wow. It's probably more like 700 for MLK, but yeah, big difference.
So just like I was talking about the Rough Rider, I always like, it'd be cool to say that I went to Malcolm X's badge. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, and I do take pride in that. I really do. Yeah,
man.
And I take even more pride in it because of the fact that he's my hero. Yeah. So, the fact that he's my hero and I went to Malcolm X Shabazz High School, yeah, for sure. I take a lot of pride in that, no doubt.
Yeah, as you should. Because like I say, the man himself, and another thing, like, and we're not going to spend a whole show talking about Malcolm, but, like you say, I think that's a beautiful thing, man, because I was just having this conversation with someone the other day, and I got to do the TikTok that she suggested. But, in terms of what you were just saying about Malcolm and his evolving and, transformation on several different occasions, it's like, and me and you had this conversation, and which is another reason that, you the big bro. I feel like, well, I would put it like this. I would say it's probably, now that Bishop is physically gone from the earth, there's probably maybe 3 people, if 3, that I feel like I could talk to about any or everything. And the reason I say if 3, because I have Mar in there, but I got to watch what I say in the bar sometimes. I know that I can talk to him about anything, but I gotta be careful what I talk to Mar about. But then you and my brother Steve, and we had this conversation before, and I think that, and I'm not trying to get nobody to change their views or none of that there. I'm not trying to sway nobody, not there. But anything that's a learned behavior can be unlearned.
Absolutely.
You know, when it comes to religion, when it comes to, well, a real man does this here because my daddy taught me this. Okay, that's why you have a man, because you're trying to get somebody to live up to your dad's standard of a man. You know, I remember when I was living in Little Rock, Arkansas. It was this older guy that I worked with, Luther. Can't remember Luther's last name, but Luther. Shout out to Luther. And I don't even know if he's still alive because he was old at the time. I'm not wishing him dead, but I can't remember what all three of them was, but his definition was, I remember him having a conversation with him. He said, a real man does three things every single day. Real man does three things every single day. And I know two of them. One was read the paper, and one of the other ones was shave. So I was like, shave.
Oh, okay.
Real man shaves every day. I said, well, Luther, according to your standards, I would never be a real man because I'm not shaving every single day.
Right.
That's not happening. I got a better chance at reading the paper every day than it's shaving every single day. I'm not shaving every single day. But, you know, it's just funny to me how all these people, we have these different notions because, you know, I always talk about it with some of my female friends too, you know, well, when I get married, I want to release the doves in the horse carriage. And then when you wind up having to go down to City Hall, you feeling some kind of way about your marriage that it didn't fulfill up to. But who told you to dream so big? I'm not trying to shoot down your dreams, but who told you that was going to be your reality? You might be marrying a local manager at whatever. Like, he might not have no dough like that to be for the release of the doves and all this in the Cinderella wedding that you dreamt up in your head. You're not marrying a prince. So it's like we get so engulfed in what we were taught. Well, mama said this here, mama said that and that. And I remember, like I said, in to get a little bit more personal, conversation that we were having was just when it comes in terms of Christianity. Like, and I always try to get Christians to really understand that, again, not trying to sway anybody, but why do you believe in God Almighty? Why do you believe in Jesus Christ? Is because that's what you was taught?
Yeah.
Or is it that you had a personal experience? Have you had, you see what I'm saying? Like, it's a difference. Well, I heard that all my life, so it got to be true. Like, what are we doing, people? And it's like, we don't challenge ourselves. So, you know, I took that when we had that conversation years ago. I took it personal. I said, you know what? I'm gonna try to apply this in every aspect of life. Like, not that there's anything wrong with what I believe, but I need to know why it is that I believe what I believe.
Absolutely.
At this age of time.
Yeah. And real quick too, I'll try to say this as quick as I can, but for to give people who are listening and watching context about what Marv is talking about, we had this conversation and I talked about how, I'm pretty sure this is the conversation you're talking about, but I had stated that we all, like, people have to be willing to challenge. George Carlin, man, was amazing. Like, he was big on this.
Brilliant.
But having to or being able or being willing to challenge every single thing that you believe. And the thing is this, when from the moment we're born, right, when you really think about it, for most people, their belief systems really aren't their belief systems. It's the belief systems of their parents, of grandparents, of family, friends, so forth and so on. Because from the moment you are born, from the moment you are able to intake information, you're being taught things and told things by your parents, by other family members, by friends. And so in your environment. And so you soak this up. And because of their stuff, right, which they got from other people, by the way, this all of a sudden, these things become your belief system. And it's not based upon your own experiences. It's not based upon anything that you know or have seen most times. It's based upon other people. And so when you get to a certain age, you have to be willing to think through this and be like, you know what? Man, do I really feel that way about this thing? Or do I only feel that way because it was what I was taught? Right. And so, you have to be willing to challenge every single belief system that you have, right? And figure out how you truly feel about it. If this is
Mhm.
what you feel, is it based on your experiences? Is it based on what exactly? Or is it based upon because mommy told me that, or daddy told me that, or grandma taught me that? And most people just aren't willing to do that. So just to provide context,
Yeah.
that's what Mark's talking about. And I had to do that because I think about our you know together we have three daughters, right? I call her two daughters my bonus daughter, and she calls my daughter her bonus daughter. But so the middle of the three, um her boyfriend came over one day, and he walked in and he didn't speak. Now, you grow up, black communities, we don't roll that way, right? You come up in the house, you better speak. And so I got pissed off, and I had to end up thinking about it. Like, you know what? Wait, how do I feel about this? Why do I feel that way?
Mhm.
Right. And as I thought about it, I'm like, yeah, I saw my grandmother, like when my uncles would bring girls in the house, they better speak. Otherwise, yeah, grandma
Mhm.
was putting them out, and you might have to get out too. And so I grew up seeing that, and so
Mhm.
that was embedded in me, and that's what I saw. So that was what I thought was the right thing to do, and so I had to think about it. Like, man, okay, how do I feel about that? Do I think it's important for someone to walk into my house and speak to me? Like, and after I thought about it and really processed it, I realized, yeah, that does matter to me. This is my space, right? This is my home that I'm allowing you into. The least you can do is speak to me.
Mhm.
But at least at that point, it became my belief
Mhm.
because I had critically thought about why I
Yeah.
felt that way. And it was no longer based upon because I saw grandma do it.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And so that's just one example, but we
Yeah.
have to be willing to challenge ourselves in every single thing that we believe, and if
Mhm.
we truly feel that way, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly because before I was able to put it into words, I had already went through that. I remember maybe early mid 20s, early 30s. But even going back into high school for me, you know, you ain't never supposed to wear no hat inside. I'm like, look, I get that, but if my head nappy,
right.
I'm putting a
Right,
hat on.
right, right,
And I
right.
remember, I remember one time the team when I was coaching. At the time I was coaching, when I first started coaching. Some of the team came over, and I don't believe it. I don't remember if it was my ex-wife or one of the other moms at the house, whatever. It's like, boy, you don't wear no hat inside. Talking to one of my teammates, I said, no, boy. As nappy as your head is, you leave that hat on. You have permission to wear your hat in my house. If
Right,
your
right.
head's nappy, keep it covered.
Yeah,
Until we can work that situation out, keep it covered.
right. And,
But
and then the question becomes why,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And that person didn't challenge themselves. Why
yeah.
do you feel that way? Because
Uh-huh.
that's what you've been taught,
Exactly.
right? Yeah.
Exactly.
You've been taught that you shouldn't wear a hat inside, but why?
Yeah.
Why? What's the reason? And if
So
you
so
really
that
challenge that and think about it,
uh-huh.
you may change your view on
Uh-huh.
it.
And you
So,
might not, but like you say,
and you might not, right?
be adult enough to have that real conversation with what about anything. Why do you believe
Absolutely.
that a real man gets up and go to work every single day?
Right.
Physical labor versus sitting behind
Right.
a computer, whether it's security, like all these different things is like, and like you say, and to prove your point before we move on, I've always said this, especially when I used to preach about racism.
Mhm.
Racism is the exact same thing, right?
Exact same
Because if
thing.
you take a classroom full of kindergarten kids, you just got kids playing together, right? But the moment they get to high school, all of a
I'm
sudden I
sorry,
can't
man.
mess
I
with
didn't mean
my
to cut you
kids.
off. I just
Yeah,
left.
I'm about to read
I'm
it
just
myself.
talking.
Yo, what up, Kurt?
Oh man.
Growing up, I was told by Kev, yeah, we won't get caught, and I believed it, but it wasn't true. So
Oh
what? So
man.
what's actually true, Kurt? He just threw you under the bus.
Yeah.
It's like Cam and Mace. Cam and Mace always talk about it. Cam be telling this story about when they was on the block. Dude was running. No, it's Wally and Gilly. Gilly the kid, Gilly always like, yo, Gilly always say, well, Wallow got caught. He was like, come on, cuz they got us. He was already going like, come on, cuz they got us. Nah, so they got you. They got
you, right? That's because Kurt was always wilding out, right? Me and Antonio were like, me and Tone were like, Kurt didn't care. Kurt did not care.
Yeah, Kurt was too big to be high. Kurt was too big to be high. Yeah, but like I said, man, you know, it's just funny how, you know, these kindergarten kids, they could play with each other, share blocks and share lunch and edibles and all that there. But then when you go to snackables, lunchables, I don't want to say edibles, but I'm not trying to feed the kid edibles, y'all. But you know, when you get to high school, all of a sudden it started to be like higher learning. And I remember my first experience in high school when I first came from down to North Carolina, and the higher learning wasn't even out at the time. But I remember my first day at this high school, because Hanover was one of the biggest high schools in the state of North Carolina at the time. Like, we literally had a cross bridge, like, to take us from one side of the school across the street to the other side. Like, we had our own crosswalk. And it was like, okay, I see over on these set of stairs, that's where all the goth kids hang out. They didn't even know what goth was at the time growing up in Newark. Then over here, we got all the Asians. Then we got a couple of the black kids. Then we got a couple of the kids. Integration over here going, and it was like I'm starting to see, like, whoa, because you know in Newark, all we know is what we know at the time.
Right.
I try to tell people, like, I didn't, in my whole entire life growing up in Newark, I went to school with 2 white students in my life, and that was like crazy going into somewhere else, and it started showing me that just because it's your reality doesn't mean that it's someone else's. Because if I can have that experience, think about how many white people in this country, if we're only 13%, have never encountered a black person in real life.
Right.
Other than and thank God I was where I was at spiritually when I became aware of these things, because I never forgot being in when I first moved to Little Rock, Arkansas. I never forget. Here it is. I'm out here preaching. I'm sold out to ministry and all that there. Walking into Walmart one day, and I see this older lady, and as she sees me coming up, it was cold out there, kid. I had a triple fat on, and as it's cold, as we get, she's coming out the store. I'm walking in the store, and she sees me coming closer, I seen her like clutch her purse or whatever. So I didn't take offense to it because of where I was at spiritually. I know, but if I wasn't where I was at spiritually, I would have like jumped at her or something, you know, just to scare like Eddie and Boomerang when they go shopping for the suits or whatever. But it was like, you know what? It was a certain reason I mentioned spirituality, because when we allow God to show us different things, and like we were talking about earlier, when we challenge and we open our way of thinking, we start seeing things from our point of view and get to look at it from a neutral point of view. And, you know, it's like, you know what? I can't be mad at this lady, because the only thing that she ever seen about somebody that looked like me is last night's episode of Law and Order or whatever she worked. And last night they was robbing somebody. So it has nothing to do with me personally. It's like, don't take it personal. That's just an experience, because she's never encountered somewhat, you know. So I just use it as a learning moment. But like I said, anything that's learned can be unlearned. You know what I mean? And I think people really need to challenge they suffer in that aspect on a personal level on a daily basis. Like you said, you know, not as that is something wrong with what you believe, but why do you believe what it is that you do believe?
Right. At least know why you believe it. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
Yeah, sure.
Before since we finna talk about Malcolm, I did have a question that was like totally unrelated. For you, because I spoke about fatherhood and husband and the man in terms of Malcolm. With you didn't necessarily have your biological dad growing up, but you had male figures, and you had your uncles, you had Bishop, different male figures. Becoming a father yourself, how important was it, being that you didn't hear from your dad? How important was it for you to let Kayla know, I love you? Like,
it was everything.
Okay.
It was everything. And I've said this before. In fact, I've said it numerous times, that I wholeheartedly believe that there's no real in between when you grow up with I don't even know, you can't even really call him a deadbeat, right? Because I saw him one time, my biological father. I saw him one time in my life
Mhm.
for about 5 seconds, and that was really it. So he just wasn't there. But I wholeheartedly believe that you go one of two ways when you have that situation, right? You either become just like that person or you go the total opposite direction. I don't think there's any real in between, at least not in my experience from what I've seen and heard from people. It's one or the other. You become just like him or you do the total opposite. And I was determined from a young age to be the total opposite of that. And so yeah, it was crucial. It meant everything for me to make sure that I was there for her. Even um, Kayla's mom and I divorced when Kayla was 9, and even at that point, it was still like it was it was everything to me to make sure that I was present in her life. Um, that she knew that I loved her, that I told her that I love her, that I not only provided but was there physically for her. And I was fortunate in the sense of I don't want to digress too much, but
Yeah.
I gotta give Danielle, Kayla's mom, props for that because even though it didn't our marriage didn't end well and she hated me for a while there, she never once, not one time in her hatred of me right after we separated and divorced, never once tried to use Kayla against me or tried to prevent me from seeing Kayla. And so I was blessed and fortunate in that. But yeah, getting back to the question, man, that meant everything to me because I did not. The last thing I wanted was for her to look at me and think of me the way that I thought of my sperm donor.
Mhm.
You know, but I will also say this because I don't want anybody to think that there's any hatred in my heart for him because there isn't. Like something else that I've said many times over. I know there are a lot of people who hate their biological fathers for not being in their lives. And I went through that phase when I was younger, but as I got older, I realized why. Like, and I'm like, I actually, when I thought about it, I realized I really didn't hate him. I was
Mhm.
saying that I hated him, and I thought I hated him, but it was only because that was what you were supposed to do, right? It was like your dad ain't in your life, you're supposed to hate him. But I didn't, and I realized that, and life's too short anyway, man, to
Yeah.
be hating people and having that sort of thing in your heart. But I don't have any feelings for him one way or the other. I don't hate him.
Mhm.
I don't love him. It's just it is what it is.
Yeah.
He was somebody who, thank you for being 50% of me coming into this world. But yeah, I don't have any feelings toward him one way or the other. I don't hate him. I don't, it's whatever. It just is.
Mhm.
And so I was blessed too, because of like you said, I had male figures in my life. And so I never one time, not for one single second in my life, felt like I was missing something because my father wasn't in my life. I
Mhm.
know not everyone has that testimony. Not everyone can say that, right? There are
Yeah.
people who feel like, man, I missed out on this and I missed out on that because I didn't have a father. I
Mhm.
never felt that way. Not one time in my entire existence have I felt like, oh, I'm missing something because my father's not in my life. And I guess that has a lot to do with the fact that I did have 4 uncles. And then when I got old enough to realize that my uncles weren't about Jack, even though I looked up to them as a kid, um, then Bishop was in my life, right? And it was Mar. And so, so yeah, I was fortunate, man. I really was. But I know I digressed a little bit. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was certainly extremely important for me.
Shout out to
Um,
Mar too, because Mar is old enough to be both our dads.
yeah, right.
I gotta take a shot at him while he ain't here to defend himself.
Yeah, right.
But again, like you say, I want to say shout out to D too, man, because this is another recent conversation that I've been having like several times, and I don't want to get too deep into it because it really is really something that bothers me like deeply. But um got 2 points. But shout out to D again because, like you say, I think that there's far too many Rembrandts and Picassos out here. There's no other way to say it, right? Because your relationship didn't work, that has nothing to do with me as a father or you as a mother. Let's stop painting these pictures to these children. You know what I'm saying? Because I knew this one young lady, and she had went through a divorce, whatever, and I would always see her tell her children, well, I never held anything against your dad. I never held anything against your dad, and I never kept you from your dad, and this here and that there. And it used to bother me, right? Because being from North is like, well, if you're always saying that you didn't do what you should have been doing anyway, like, what was he really about? Was he really this monster, or was your feelings hurt? You see what I'm saying? But so many times we paint a picture, and I seen Carmelo talk about it with his mom. And he was like, his mother told him straight up, like, look, he said he's about 13, 14. He's like, yeah, whenever you're ready to have a conversation about your dad, let's do it. But that's on you. You know what I mean? She didn't try to paint any different pictures about your dad and all that there. She didn't call him the sperm donor. Oh, you want to go see your sperm donor and all that? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and I think far too, because men do it too. That's why I said I don't want to make it just about the women, because men do it too. But far too many women do this, and it's like, stop painting these pictures. And it really bothered me because it's been maybe 10 years now. I love DL. I've always liked DL. But I remember listening to him on the radio one morning and him talking about how, his father was the same way. Deadbeat. Father wasn't this here, he wasn't that. And, he can go to hell for all I care. You know what I mean? I ain't got no love for him. All this here and that there. And he remember having something happen with one of his daughters one day. Well, long story short, I'm just paraphrasing. But he said he thought about his dad. And he was like, you know what? Back to what we were talking about earlier, challenging yourself. He's like, I only feel this way because this is what mama told me. Now, today, as a grown man, I realized mama was just hurt. Mama was lying on that. He was like, but now he's gone and I can't apologize to him. I can't correct that wrong. You know what I mean? And it's sad when it is unfortunate that we get to that so many times. So please, brothers and sisters, like, let's stop painting these pictures for children when somebody is, because like I always feel like this. The truth is always going to reveal itself at the end of the day anyway. No if they're no good mother, it's going to show up. If they're no good dad, it's going to show up. But don't you put those ideas in their head. You let him keep not showing up to pick him up from school or taking him to practice or showing up at the recitals. Here, time will reveal all things. You know what I mean? But it does not need assistance from you.
Yeah, you don't need to give him any rope. He's doing a good enough job of hanging himself.
Exactly. So that was one thing. And point two, I thank God on your behalf, and I know you do as well, but I thank God on your behalf because something else that I used to always say growing up was, particularly in North, I thought it was sad the way the government, the powers that be, just the way life put us in that position where, as African American, as Black fathers rather, there was far too many of us that couldn't do our job, both of our jobs, which is, in my opinion, is to be there for our children provisionally and also be there for them emotionally. But most of us with an education and the way the system works is either you could be there physically and not financially, or you could be there financially and not there physically. It's far too many. That gap has been shortened. And I thank God that you was afforded the opportunity to be able to do both, because that's not everybody's testimony. You know what I mean? Think about my dad all the time, and I always talk about that. I just wanted to be as nice as I was in football. I wanted to look up in the stands and see my dad. I wanted to be the first one on TV to shout out to my dad, not my mother, because I'm like, all y'all shouting out y'all mothers. I want to shout out my dad. You know what I mean? But I look up in the stands, Pops ain't there because he had to work to put food on the table. You feel what I'm saying? And even though it was a commendable reason at the time, it didn't matter to the little boy inside of me.
Right.
I just want
Right.
to see my dad there. You know what I'm saying? So I thank God that we've come a long way, and a lot of people are doing much better. And we, before we can move on, I want you to talk about that a little bit, because I think that's important too. You know what I mean? And your personal experiences are your personal experiences. But I always, one of the things that I do in my personal time, or one of my favorite things in the world to do, is watch like Hall of Fame inductions. I spend a whole Saturday by myself because I can't watch them with nobody else. I have to watch them solo because I'm a crier. I ain't no doubt about it. I'm a crier.
Ain't nothing
I
wrong
love
with that.
those moments. I cry during football sports movies. If it's a good sports story, I'm crying. I don't care
Nothing
what
wrong
to
with
say.
that. Hey, look, John Stewart was talking about his dog that passed yesterday on Instagram today, and I had to choke back a little something. So there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, it ain't like my uncle used to tell me. Because people always, real man don't cry. One of those learned behaviors again. My uncle used to tell me when I was younger. He said, "Look, if God ain't want you to cry, He wouldn't have gave you tear ducts."
Absolutely, no doubt.
But
and the older you get, the more you cry, the more emotional
yeah,
you become
exactly.
anyway.
But it's funny to me to see these Hall of Famers, some of the greatest that ever did what they do, and you see them in these different interviews, and these guys that we know for being macho and tough and football, gladiators, so to speak. Their mindset is they'll break down and have a moment. I never heard my dad say he loved me. My grandmother never told me she loved me, but I knew she loved me. Back to what we were talking about earlier, why are words so important, do you feel like, in some of these people's lives? Because like you say, it wasn't your testimony, but some people use these things as excuses. Well, I never really had a dad. My dad was taken away from me when I was young, and I never even got to know him more. Whatever the case may be, and you allow that, instead of the way I worded it was, instead of processing that information and allowing yourself to heal, you hold on to it and let it cripple you somewhat. And I know grown people that do this on a daily basis, instead of dealing with the trauma that they life with. Okay, guess what? It's over. You've been molested. You've been, whatever the case may be, you've been raped, robbed, you've been carjacked. Are you going to never get behind the wheel again? Are you going to let that cripple you? Or are you just going to cut your license up and start taking the bus? Because guess what? You can get robbed on the bus stop too. Let's in case you didn't know that.
Right,
But
right.
I'm not even trying. I'm trying to be humorous about it, but I'm trying to make it like a real thing, because some of these people stay in these circumstances. What do you think that allowed you, or what was within you to say, you know what? I'm not going to let this stunt my growth. I'm not going to hold on to this. I don't have to love them, but I don't have to hate them either. But not use it as an excuse.
I think, and you said it earlier, right? Everybody's experience is different, and so a lot of it is innate, right? A lot of it is just things that are within you from birth, but then a lot of it also has to do with your surroundings, your environment, the people around you growing up, how people pour into you or don't pour into you, right? And so I was some of it was innate, right? Some of that self-confidence and self-esteem I think was just in me anyway. But then I was surrounded by people who told me I could do whatever I wanted to do, be whoever I wanted to be. We actually just talked about this on our podcast last night, about self-confidence and self-esteem and where that comes from. And that's a lot of what it was, right? I had people pouring into me. My family, I had my uncles who, again, I looked up to very much as a kid. And as I started to get older, I realized, yeah, these dudes ain't about nothing. But the one thing I can give my uncles credit for is the fact that they showed me how men should love. And I don't know where it came from, where they got it from, but all four of my uncles, man, they had no issues hugging me, kissing me, telling me they love me, right? Talking me up, telling me I could be whatever I wanted to be, those sorts of things, right? And I had that from my mom, I had that from them. And then, when mom got in church, obviously I was young. And so, you got Bishop, right? Who pours into you. And
Mhm.
so I just had a lot of people in my life who did that. And so it allowed me, it afforded me the confidence, the self-confidence, the self-esteem, the self-awareness, right? To be able to feel like I could do anything I wanted to do and be. And so it gave me resilience. Not everyone, unfortunately, not everyone is in that, has that.
Mhm.
A lot of people grow up, they're being told, you've heard the stories. You may have even heard it yourself. I don't know. But teachers, right, telling, especially black kids, telling
Mhm.
you're not gonna amount to anything. Those sorts of things. Parents say that to kids,
Yeah.
right? And so if you're hearing that sort of thing your whole life, if you don't have someone who's pouring into you, you just you can't create that self-awareness, that self-confidence to be able to overcome a setback. You know what I mean? A setback for me is just that. Like, if I have a failure, okay, failure is part of success, it's part of life. Everyone's going to have failures. It's just, that's the way it is. You can't be successful at every single thing. You take that failure and you use it as motivation, you use it as fuel, right? To either be better at that thing, to be better at the next thing, to do whatever. But not everyone has that in them. Unfortunately, a lot of people, a failure or any minor setback, it messes up their whole world and
Yeah.
they never move on from it. And it
Sad.
just, so I think that's where it comes from. Again, some of it is just inside you, but whether it's in you or not, it's like a muscle, right? And
Mhm.
so it's one of those things that has to be built up, it has to be used. And so, yeah, if you don't have people pouring into you like that, then yeah, unfortunately, where do you get that resilience from? So
Yeah. Hey, good point, Kirk. I was just having this conversation literally this week about the same exact thing. I'm not naming names, but
no, you're
you
right,
know,
Kurt. I just read it.
God,
Yeah.
God is going to work those situations out, and you think you're doing a good thing from your perspective, but when that kid comes of age and they learn the truth of what it is, oh, they gonna resent you for it. They
Ray
gonna
has that
resent you for
story.
it.
Ray has that story right now. His daughter is at least is 27, I think she is.
Yeah,
But yeah,
because he
his
talked
ex.
about it on here before.
Okay, yeah. So his ex kept her from him all those years, and as she, in the last few years now,
Mm-hmm.
she's found out the truth about what
Mm-hmm.
her mom would say about him.
Yeah.
The two of them now, at 27 years old, I think she's going to be 28 this year. They have this tight, 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 tight bond, and they didn't have it for most of her life.
Yeah.
And she
Because
found
of
out the
pain.
truth, and now she's resenting her mother for it.
Mm-hmm.
Her relationship with her mom has really gone downhill, and yet she's formed this incredible bond with him.
Yep.
So what Kurt just said is 100% accurate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I
100%.
agree wholeheartedly. And like you say, people got to really be careful with that because, like I said, the truth is going to be revealed eventually.
Eventually,
I just pray that is in a time where we can reconcile, and then if not, like I said, that bitterness, once that resentment comes in, it's going to be hard to get them back.
yeah,
Like, because then I'm always wondering, well, why did you lie to me?
right,
You know what I mean? I see so many adults where, parents that are adults, where the kids become adults themselves. The child becomes an adult, and their first response is, "Well, Daddy, why didn't you fight for me?"
right.
And they feeling some kind of way about that, but you don't realize, like, yo, and and it's different from every situation. But
Mhm.
somebody's reality is, baby girl, it wasn't that I didn't want to fight for you. But don't you realize if me and your mom had been in the same room, you would be missing two parents. You'd be without two parents. So I'd rather remove myself from the situation because psychologically, I can't take all the nonsense because your mother doesn't want to accept the fact that I don't want to be with her anymore, or whatever the case may be, or your dad doesn't want to be with me anymore. And it's sad because the children are the ones that's always losing out.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not fair to that child. It's not fair to that adult that still has a little girl, little boy crying on the inside because of something that you did.
Yeah.
Because you were hurt.
Yeah.
That's not right.
And that's
Children.
why I think it's so important to see someone. I think it's important for everybody to do it. I don't care how, well adjusted you think you are to life,
Mhm,
right? We all have dealt with stuff in our life. And I think it's so important to see a psychiatrist, a psychologist, or see someone to talk through things,
mhm.
right? Because there's always, even if it's not severe trauma that you've dealt with in your life, they're just things, right, that we can use help with. And I just really think it's important. And for Black people, if for no other reason, shoot, we're still dealing with like systemic
Yeah.
racism and overt racism and all the
Mhm,
different things, right? So that alone for a Black person is worthy of seeing someone and talking to someone about.
mhm.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
And there's no pity party, but I would tell somebody, I tell people all the time, I said, so when you Black in America, when you born with PTSD.
Right.
You,
Right.
you don't have to go to war to get PTSD.
Right.
You born with PTSD. It's post
Right.
traumatic, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
After the fact, you know what I mean? That come with birth.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially the
No.
older that you get, man. But before we get out of here, man, I gotta get you my military expert. I gotta get your take on this, man. What I was reading a report the other day. Within the last 140 days, I think we had what 140, 144 now with
Yeah, I
the
don't
whole
remember the
Gaza
exact amount
situation.
of days, but yeah.
31,000 soldiers killed over there. That's a big number, bro.
Wait, hold on. What we talking about right now?
Said it was 31,000 soldiers that were killed over there.
Where?
Not in America, doing the whole Gaza, between Gaza and
Okay.
Ukraine.
Okay. Are you
You know what I
talking
mean?
about Israel and
Israel,
Palestine?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Now, well, before I get there, let me ask you. Okay, so we got because I'm like 140, and I was like, we did a show on Israel, Ukraine, uh, almost 3 years ago now. Me, you, and Mont. Shout out to Lamont Early. I'm at Monty Early. So is this two separate war? Is Israel fighting two separate wars simultaneously?
No, Israel doesn't have anything else going on outside of Palestine other
Okay.
than, them. There's no other war that they're involved in other than,
Okay.
and you can, and let's be clear, what's going on with Israel and Palestine is not a war. All right, let me be 100% clear about that. That is not a war. You can't call what's happening.
Bullying.
Israel is they have one of the most powerful armies in the world. And without a doubt, they have the most powerful army in the Middle East, right? Palestine has nothing, right?
It's on
Hamas
rocks.
has gathered a couple of little things here and there, but they have nothing. You can't call this. It's just not a war. It's just not what it is. And to sell it that way is disingenuous. But yeah, so they don't have, honestly, they really don't have anything else going on. They're not involved really in the Russia Ukraine thing.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, but certainly, they're doing, you know, the crazy thing is what's going on over there is not new. Unfortunately, a lot of people, well, fortunately, maybe because people are becoming more aware of it, but what's going on over there has been going on for decades.
It's
What
just
happened on
more to
October
light.
7th? It just brought everything to light for a lot of people in the world.
Okay.
But as you know, the whole Palestinian cause is something that I've been involved in for some time
Mhm.
now,
Yeah.
right? And so yeah, it's I don't know how you want to take this conversation. I,
Just a general conversation, because like I said, one it bothers me when we talk about Malcolm. I don't like bullies, right?
Mhm.
Now, having said that, not dealing with this situation, Israel, I do believe that bullies are necessary. Like, not even necessary, but I always talk about like we live in America, we live in a trophy era that I'm not a fan of. A ribbon for participation. You know what I mean? I see the dude. I see the young boy playing in a basketball game with church shoes on. He had a Stacey Adams kid, and his mama want him to get a trophy just like everybody else. Dude, you came out here with church shoes on. You don't deserve a trophy, bro. Just because you showed up. I'm so not a fan of this. Like, I believe in earning this here and that there, and we talk about and I'm not trying to make light of it because somebody lost their life, somebody committed suicide after being cyber bullied.
Absolutely.
One of these states this week.
Yeah.
And I was gonna ask you about that too, because I'm like they added the SNL, I think it's 2SL in front of the LGBTQ. Now they got 2 more letters. I'm not even sure what I didn't even get a chance to look it up to see what it was about. But they said it was an incident where it was bullying and just different type of things here, and and it's like my heart goes out to the family and that individual and their family as well. But there were days, I'm the man that I am today because I spent some days on the couch crying because of bullies. Like it made us have tough skin. And we were having this conversation before on one of the previous shows, me and Big Fi and Julian, and we were just talking about how, growing up in Newark is a different beast. And I'm not talking down on any other place, but I remember at 11 years old. You know what I mean? I didn't ask my mother because she'd take me to choir rehearsal. I knew how to walk to the corner, get on the 31, go downtown, jump on the 25. I'm not even a teenager yet. You know what I mean? We made it happen to what we do. But with this sense of entitlement that these kids live in today, well, I need a ride, and I don't care if you need to take off work or whatever. I need to get where I got to go. It's like, where is this disconnect? Where has it come from? You know what I mean? Like that whole. I'm just not a fan of it, me personally. I don't know how you feel about it, but I'm not a fan of I don't even know how we got from Israel on to that.
I know.
That's what it is, because like you said, I wouldn't call it a war either. I look at it like a bullying situation. Like Israel is straight bullying Palestine and the people in Gaza. And like you say, being from Newark, all you got to do is read between the lines and have real conversation with yourself, right? Because think about it. Now, y'all want to tell me that this is going on because of how you say Hamas, which is a terrorist group in that part of the world, so to speak, right? So because y'all label them
terrorists,
I'm about to say because y'all label them, back to words being important, y'all label them as a terrorist, right? But we're talking about they're in Gaza, but we're talking about, like you said, Israel, who has the greatest army in that part of the world. Why is it that this great army can't just go pluck those terrorists out as opposed to attacking the whole people, women, children, destroying everything?
And you got to go back. Like, first of all, no matter what you and I want to make it perfectly clear, I'm not condoning what Hamas did on October 7th, right? I never condone any group specifically targeting civilians. I understand that in skirmishes and war and stuff like that, unfortunately,
you're gonna have casualties in war.
There are some casualties, right? And so from the civilian side, but to specifically target civilians, I'm never going to be a fan of that. But Hamas exists because of Israel, period. End of story. If Israel was not a settler colonial country, Hamas wouldn't even exist, right? And I don't want to, because I know we're probably over time and all that, so I don't want to get too in this. But this goes back to the late 1800s and the Zionist movement and Theodore Herzl, and I won't get too far into that. But when World War I ended and the British were given essentially Palestine, Palestine was inhabited mostly by Palestinians, by Arabs. There were some Christians and there were some Jewish people living there as well. It was mostly Palestinians. The British didn't care about Jewish people one way or the other. However, because of the Zionist movement, and the Zionist movement also, don't let them fool you. They try to make it seem like it's not a bad thing, but the Zionist movement came from them trying to create the country of Israel, right? Trying to create a Jewish state, essentially. They decided that they needed to do it, put them in Palestine. And part of that was, what do we do about the Palestinians? Well, the Palestinians are going to have to agree to us coming in there, or we're going to have to exterminate them. Period. This isn't something that they said this out loud. This was said out loud. So when Palestinians had no problems with Jewish people coming in, but what happened was, all of a sudden now the British have taken control, given Palestine by the UN. Well, the UN predecessor, the UN used to be called the League of Nations. Anyway, they decided, okay, we're going to partition Palestine. And Palestinians are like, wait, hold on. What are you talking about? This is our country here. How are you just going to, distribute this and, inside, this is what's going to happen. And so they said, well, we're going to partition it. We're going to give 55% of the country to the Jewish people. Y'all can have 45%. Right? Even though at that point, Palestine was 33% Jewish by that point, because this is in 1948. Jewish population started moving in based on the Zionist movement in like 1922. Anyway, Palestinians are like, no, we don't agree to this. What are you talking about? So they did it by force. They made, all of a sudden, Israel's like, okay, this is now Israel. We are a country. And they had the backing of the Brits, of the UK. So, of course, that was not going to be a battle won by Palestine, unfortunately. And so they started to exterminate them. 700,000 Palestinians were either forced out of their homes or killed. At 80% of Palestine at that point, this is what Israel did. They became a settler. They did essentially to Palestine worse than what Europe did to the indigenous people here in this country when they came in. Colonialism by in and of itself is bad enough, but settler colonialism is worse, because we don't want to just create colonies within this country. We want to take over this country, and we're going to exterminate you in the process. And ever since then, that's what they have continued to try to do, to exterminate every single Palestinian that's there. October 7th came about, and now they're using Hamas as the reason. But we got to exterminate Hamas. Hamas does not speak for the Palestinians, first of all. Are they Palestinians themselves? Yes, they are a group in and of themselves. They are not even that large. They're not near as large as Israel will have you believe they are, right? This is all about just exterminating Palestinians and making everything over there Israel. That's what it's always been about. That's what it will always be about. Period.
Yeah. Hey, what's good, Joey? But
hey, Joey.
I was laughing because I got another question from Kurt too. But I'm laughing as you talking on the inside because I'm like, man, this sounds very familiar to me. Where have I heard this story before?
Yeah.
I think it was a dude named Christopher Columbus. That discovered a land where indigenous people were already here. Like, but we gonna leave you the scraps after we finish doing what we want to do. Like, what kind of world, God? What's going on? Like, what kind of world do we live in for people to have the audacity to say, you know what, Kev, I know that you and Felicia worked hard, you don't retire, but I kind of I'm down here in Florida. I kind of like the house, and
exactly.
I'm kind of glad you guys are going on the road, because if you wasn't going on the road, I was gonna come in here and take it anyway.
I'm taking your house. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Yeah,
like,
we like this. This is now ours. This is now ours. Yeah.
Like, I don't understand. I just don't understand that mind frame. And like I said, I can't wait for that great day, like church folks tell us, where it all makes sense better by and by, because it's not making no kind of sense to me right now whatsoever. Like, I'm not getting it. I'm not getting it.
And then obviously we continue to support them. We always have. and it's mostly because what how do we USA get involved with all these other countries?
Because that's a
War.
question I've always said myself.
Yeah, and it's all about strategy. A lot of it's about strategy, Kurt, and what other countries can do for us, right? We
Mhm.
got in bed, so to speak, with Israel because of their strategic location,
Mhm.
right? The United States they have a stake in some things that go on in the Middle East, right? From a resource standpoint, from a military standpoint, from all these things. So for the United States, in their mind, it makes sense to have Israel as an ally because Israel has the most powerful army over there,
Mhm.
right? They control a lot of things over there. So the United States feels like strategically we need to be in league with them. So that's why we've always been in league with them. And that's what happens a lot, right? It's usually about resources, it's about political strategies, it's about military strategies and all these different things. And so that's usually what it comes down to, man. It truly, that's usually what it comes down to, Kurt. When you think about um, a lot of the things that are, because right now in Africa, right, you have issues in whether we call them civil wars or whatever, right, in Congo,
Mhm.
in Somalia, in Sudan, and so and I'm missing one or two. Actually, that's not
Liberia,
popping in my head right now, but like
Liberia up there too.
we call them civil wars, but we have a stake in it, right? You most times we've helped create the civil war,
Mhm.
right? And I know as an example for because you asked me, or when we first started talking about this last week, Marv, you had mentioned when I said, hey, is there anything specific that you want to discuss? And you brought up Iran, right?
Yeah,
So, and I
that
was
was
using this.
totally a typo. Yeah.
Okay, and just to use it as an example, though, right? This is what the United States does.
Mhm.
We took a democratically elected regime in Iran. This was back in 1953. We democratically elected, right? The country elected these people. We decided that we wanted to get involved because we had some things going on over there that we needed to, from a strategic military standpoint, right? We needed Iran. We needed them to be allies, and for us to get what we needed in that area, we needed to install a regime that would be beneficial to us, that would help the United States. So
Gotcha.
we took a democratically elected regime, right, in Iran, or Iran, actually, is how it's really pronounced, and forced them out and installed an Iranian who we knew would have our back. You scratch our back, we scratch yours,
Yeah.
right? Which is the reason that Iran still hates us to this day, by the way. But that's the sort of thing that we do in these
Mhm.
places. And then oftentimes, what the result is, it's famine, it's civil war,
Yep.
right? And then we say, look at these people, they can't be civil, right? You got these two different factions within a country fighting each other because they're uncivilized. But they don't tell you the whole story, right? What precipitated that? Usually us.
Mhm.
And if not us, if not the United States, one of the other world powers, right? There are really seven main world powers. And usually, you got the US and the UK always at the forefront of something, right?
Yep.
Always with our imperialism and colonialism. But then also, Russia's involved in stuff, China's involved in stuff, France is involved in stuff. So that's usually what it comes down to, man. It's strategic resources, all that sort of thing. And so we always poke our nose in things and install these regimes. But then what makes it even worse is when we install these regimes, to run a country because we know they'll scratch our backs and help us out in a situation. Like if it comes down to something where we got to fight Russia, we got to fight China, we got to fight this people, then we have these people in place that will ally with us and help us,
Mhm.
right? So a lot of that is that. But the other part to it is when these things happen, the people over there end up being starving, right? Because we've installed these regimes that are taking money away. They're doing things that they shouldn't be to their citizens, right? And then when those citizens try to leave and either come here, when they try to immigrate to the US, they try to immigrate to UK, they try to immigrate to Germany or wherever, we don't let them in. Like, we're the reason that they have to leave their country. But then when they try to come here, oh no, you can't come here. And so it's cyclical. It's just man, it's I could talk about that all day, but I won't. But I hope that answered your question, Kurt.
Hey, Kurt. So in regular terms, what Kev is saying is Israel is the plug. They the plug over there. That's what you want to be friends with.
And then everybody wants to blame Hamas. And again, I'm not condoning Hamas for what they did on October 7th, but they did what they felt they needed to do, whether I agree with it or not. They're trying to defend themselves, right? They have a right by international law. It is international law that as a settler colonialism country, you have the right, international law, you have the right to defend yourself and fight, right? That's international law. So they have the legal right to fight Israel because Israel is a settler colonial country, right? And so, and then the other part of international law is if you are the settler colonial country, you actually don't have the right from international law, you don't have a right to fight back because you have taken over this country illegally. And so international law says they have a right to self-determination, and you can't fight them back as they try to get their country back. That's international law. So everything that's going on over there that Israel is doing is completely illegal. And it has been since 1948 at a minimum, really 1922. But since 1948, everything they've done over there has been illegal. Israel should not exist. That's Palestine. Everything over there should be Palestine. Israel went in there and took it illegally. Right?
Yeah.
So,
hey, Childish Gambino said it best a couple years ago. This is America.
Yeah.
This is America.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Like it's the same old song, man. It's like, and to Kurt's point, that's one of the things that always bother me too, which is why I'm like, I'm ready for it to all be over with, because it's like I was watching something with Jon Stewart earlier. Like I told you, that's my guy. I'm so glad he's back on Monday nights. That's the only thing. That's where I get all my politics from. I don't watch no politics other than him, other than Al Jazeera News every once in a while, whatever. But he was talking. He had these two guys that was on, and they were talking about pretty much paraphrasing the blank checks that we be giving Israel. You know what I mean? And it's like, even that word blank check, it's like we're funding something. We're funding bullies, but we're funding them with a blank check. Whatever you need, you got it. But at the same time, we're over here still dealing with veterans that have laid their life on the line for this country, that are a big part of our homeless population. I don't understand that. I'm not saying that you got to live in the suburbs, you got to live in a house on the hill, but as a veteran that laid their life on the line for this country, I don't want to hear nothing about no VA hospital. You should be able to get a room. If you could go set up tents in condos and living quarters for when they in war, I don't understand when I come back over here why I don't have no place to rest my head. Why we have so many people that's underprivileged as far as not just the homeless, but people that can't afford to eat. You know, just simple milk. Why don't we have more shelters? Why don't we always want to talk about how much we care in this American dream? And I'll be telling people like, yo, for one, that's exactly what it is. It's a dream. I was listening to the I Have a Dream speech, and I'm not even gonna get into that again not too long ago. Beautiful when it comes to words. But Frederick Douglass said it in what, Kev, 62, whatever case may be. Hey, listen, this is not my Independence Day. Why would I want to celebrate this? Because I'm not even free. I'm a free man, but I'm not free. So everything that y'all talking about, I understand that we want to make Martin Luther King the poster boy to give black people hope, keep hope alive, like Jay, keep them alive. But dude, we're not even part of the Constitution. We 3/5 of a person. How can you have 3/5 of a person, bro? Make that like, are we half robotic?
Right.
I don't understand that. So that American dream it was never meant for us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do we insert? Because I want to close out on this, right? So I've been on this thing, and it'd be funny, and it's not even just funny, but it's scary, right? Because I don't even do all the stuff that most people suggest or things of that nature there. But I find it real funny how me and you could be having a conversation right now, right? Mm-hmm. Even though this is on a live feed, we could be having a regular conversation on the telephone about same thing, right? When I hang up, when I go on Facebook, I'm seeing all these Israeli posts that I ain't never seen before. Like me and Steve, we talk about this on sports type things.
Yeah.
You know, just a regular conversation amongst two brothers. Yep. Next thing I know, like, why is y'all? Because me and Steve, we be on the phone and be like, well, we know y'all listening, but we don't care whether you hear us or not, because we know that. I just want you to know that I know that you're listening, and I'm not crazy.
Me and Felicia talk about this all the time too, man. We can just be having a conversation in the house, just the two of us, about something, and then all of a sudden, I go on the Instagram and something about it pops up in my feed.
All the time. All the time, man.
All the time.
It's scary to me when you think of that there, but it's like, how do we get past? That just threw me off because it's so. I lost my train of thought because it's scary. But that's where I was going. I've been on this thing personally before I even started speaking it out loud. That's why it was so much scarier to me. Before I actually even started verbalizing it, I'm just having these thoughts. I'm not Googling anything. I'm not even searching things yet.
Right.
But in my brain, in myself, right? I ask myself, how do I feel about segregation? Did we win with integration?
No.
I said, Kev, I didn't even speak it out loud. Next thing I know, all these different feeds that I'm seeing is dealing with this and talking about this. And
it's
I'm
so
like,
crazy. Yeah.
Yo, this ain't God. This is something else. This ain't a spiritual thing. Like, this is something else. Yeah. But I've been having that conversation more and more, and you said, nah, we didn't. I've really been on that because I used the same analogy last week. You know, when you think about the scene in life, well, you know how much it's going to take to call big turn one of the white only pies and the nigga pies.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, for me personally, I work too hard for my money. Right? To this day, not even race related. I go into an establishment, you sit us down, and I see you serving everybody else, and you taking 20, 30 minutes to come over here to ask me what I even want to drink.
Damn.
I'm leaving I'm still going to tip. I'm still going to leave a tip, but I'm getting up out of here because you can't make me spend my money nowhere that is wanted. Yeah. So why would we want to? You know what I mean? These hotels is like, nah, no niggas allowed. But no, we going to fight. We going to give our lives so that we could sleep in a place that doesn't want us and that might kill us, might drag us out. We going to eat in a restaurant that we don't know what they doing to the food. It's different if you're talking about a cookout or somewhere you can see them prepare the food. But we talking about we're going to let them go back in the back and cook our food and bring us something. I don't want that kind of food, bro.
Right.
But the moment when we put color aside and race aside and say, well, you know what? They spend money. We all like that green. So we got to make an exception. And I'm like, to me, bro, that's not cool. That's absolutely not cool. Guess that I don't know personally how true it is, but I've heard maybe a little less than half of the world homeless maybe are the ones that have served in this country. Do you feel there's any truth in that? I'm not sure the actual numbers, but I do know that from the stuff that I have researched before, that's why I said what I said, the way I said it, that a big part of the homeless population is veterans.
Yeah, for sure.
That's documented.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's no doubt. I don't know if it's half. I don't know what the number is either. But yeah, without a doubt, there are a whole bunch of veterans who are homeless. No doubt. I know that the homeless population, certainly veterans, make up a pretty large percentage of it. I would say. Again, not sure if it's half. But yeah, I mean,
But even being
war.
ex-military, Kev, how is that possible? In the land of the free, the home of the brave, you can lay down your life for this country. You know what I mean? And at the same time, I used to make jokes of it, but I'll be dead serious. Now, you mean to tell me at 18 years old, I could go lay my life down on the line for this country, but I can't walk in the corner store and get a beer?
Right.
Make that make sense to me?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I will say this. I think they're doing a better job. Better job doesn't mean great, that's for sure. They're doing a better job these days of trying to do some things for veterans that they so a lot of that large population that are veterans are from old wars, right? Like they've gotten better with programs and resources and things like that to help vets. But by the time those things came along, a lot of the vets that you see out there that are homeless, we're talking vets that were in some of the older foreign wars. And so the resources weren't there. They didn't care about them. It took, um, people going to bat for veterans, right? To force the government and the military to do some things a little bit better, right? Like having resources for mental health. A lot of these homeless vets out there didn't have that at that time. That's something that's still fairly new, right? To deal with PTSD and the different things that can occur when you served in a war. And so again, I'm not saying they're perfect. They have gotten better. And so yeah, that has a lot to do with it. These guys are out here, man, and they don't, so again, suffering a lot of them suffering from PTSD. Um, and they don't know how to contend with that. And so that in and of itself is a large part of the problem. I still think that the military and the government need to do more,
Mhm.
because better still doesn't mean great. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So they still have a long way to go to do some things to take care of the vets, and not only in installing these programs and resources, but ensuring that vets know about them. Like you got to publicize them. You just can't
Exactly.
create them and
Exactly.
expect people to know just because you created it.
Mhm.
If that means going out and getting some vets off the street and providing them a meal and letting them know what the resources are, those sorts of things need to be done. I mean, we live in between Jacksonville and St. Augustine in a city called Ponte Vedra here in Florida. And Jacksonville is the largest city in
Mhm.
the contiguous United States,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
The only cities that are larger than Jacksonville are in Alaska. So that's why I say Jacksonville is the largest city in the contiguous United States.
Mhm.
Um, Downtown is horrific. It's one of the worst downtowns I've ever seen in my life. You think about when you go to big cities, right? And
Mhm.
how bustling big city downtowns
Yeah.
are. Not Jacksonville. Jacksonville's full of just homeless people. Businesses really aren't there. The VA is downtown. There are a bunch of homeless people right around the VA hospital itself. And so, yeah, so I see it all the time. And again, you can't just create, you have to do better at creating resources and programs, but then you have to make sure that veterans know about them and
Yeah.
can use them. So,
I definitely concur with what you said there because my sister and my brother-in-law live in Jacksonville. And I remember the first time couple times I went there and like, yo, we like, bro, you ride 45 minutes, you still in Jacksonville. Like it's big. But
Jacksonville's huge. Yeah.
I'm like, yo, man, like Jacksonville, Florida, when you hear about it and never visited, you would think I was like, yo, hold up now. Like, nah, this can't be the Jacksonville I thought it definitely ain't the
Right.
Jacksonville I thought it was. Like
Right.
I was saying earlier in the show, too. Who told me to think up that Jacksonville was this
Yeah.
beautiful place just
Right.
because it was in Florida?
Right,
Like
right, right, yeah. It's got
reality
nice
hit.
areas, don't get me
Yeah,
wrong,
yeah,
Jacksonville
and it
has some
does.
really, really nice areas,
But it
but
got some jacked up ones.
it's got some, yeah. It's got
It
some,
got some
yes,
jacked up
really
ones
some,
too.
yeah,
And,
yeah.
and to your point, man, and I'm done with it after this. I mean, unless you want to go on, but to your point, I'm not a fan of necessarily capitalism. I haven't studied it enough to all that there. But the point that I'm making is the reason I say that is because if you could build privatized prisons, right?
And
Where
don't get
people
me started on that.
where people can make money off of people
Yeah.
being incarcerated, which
Yeah.
means that the numbers of incarceration are going to go up because it doesn't make no
Absolutely.
sense to have a jail if you're not
Yep.
getting paid and you're getting paid by the inmate. So we need
Yep.
more people going to jail over traffic
Yep.
violations, some of the most simplest
Absolutely.
stuff because I got to get my comeback. I didn't build this
Yeah.
prison for it to be empty. But my point is,
Right.
if you were doing it for the right reasons, you know what I mean, then why can't you build a homeless hospital? I mean, a veterans hospital or a veterans shelter where they could go in there and live, where we
You
don't have to
answered
go
your own question.
yeah, to the homeless. You know what I mean? We was doing it for
You
doing
answered
it
your
for the
own
right reason
question.
because it's the right thing to do. Like, come on,
You're not
people.
going to do anything because it's the right thing to do. It's about capitalism. You answered it.
Exactly.
There's no money to be made off of that. You
And
know what I mean?
that's what bothers me. And like I've always said it, my problem with the country is you won't ever just say that.
Right.
You want to give me smoke and mirrors where, like the pimps, hey, look, ho, nah, get back out there on the stroll. Guess what? They was willing to do that because he kept it real with him. All right, Dad. I would rather for America to tell me that I'm not a part of the American dream. Don't sell me these wolf tickets, so to speak. Keep it real with me, and I will respect you more.
Yeah.
I respect you more because you kept it real with me. Yeah, it sounds good, but this ain't for you.
Right.
All right,
Right.
cool. Now I'm gonna go
Yeah.
over here and I'm gonna establish mine. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
it's been proven historically. I always love it. That's one of the things I love about living in North Carolina. You know, people, and it baffles my mind how many older people are just starting in the last 5 to 6 years learning about Juneteenth. Now, I will be honest, I never knew anything about Juneteenth until I moved to Little Rock. So I thought it was just like a parade or a summertime event.
Right.
I didn't realize why they was calling Juneteenth. I didn't know it. And then I started learning the history in Little Rock. And I'm like, oh, that's crazy that the war was over for a whole almost a year and a half, 2 years, and these people ain't even got the word.
Right.
Was it that they didn't get the word on purpose because the slave, you know what I mean? All those different things. So it's just sad. I would prefer for you to be up front and direct with me, and that's the one thing. And I'm not even going to go back and forth on that there. But I would have when people that I'm in circles with, or that I have a personal relationship with, that and me and Mar used to talk about it all the time. You know, during that time. And Mar, of course, Mar is older, so I'm not hating on older people, but they're less resistant in some aspects when it comes to certain things. But my thing was when it came to the vaccine, me personally, it was like, yo, when has the government ever did anything for us because it was the right thing to do or because it was in the best interest of us?
Right.
And guess what? It still ain't enough of y'all doing it. We're going to start giving out gas cards because we want to put this in you. Gas cards ain't working either. Okay, the state of Georgia had a lottery. Like, why are you trying so hard to put this thing into my body? I want nothing to do with that.
Right.
Because historically, you have never done anything for us as American citizens just because it was the right thing to do. If it wasn't money being made.
Yeah.
So that stuff like that, it really bothers me because they won't just say that. If you say that, if you just keep it real with me, I promise you, I will respect you. I won't necessarily agree with you, but I respect it.
Yeah, you're not gonna get that. You won't get that from them, that's for sure. Yeah. They're gonna spend it any way they can. It doesn't benefit them to tell you the truth, right? So
Yeah.
what benefit is that going to do? So yeah, they're never going to be truthful with you about it.
Even with the Dr. Sebis of the world and things of that nature there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why is it that like you say, I'll be trying to shoot them out quick when I come across them. But then you call me, hey, bro, that post you sent me is saying it's unavailable. You know what I mean? Y'all gonna shut that down. But we could pass Kevin Samuels and all this other kind of nonsense religiously. It ain't going
Right.
nowhere. You know what I
Right.
mean? Because I tell people all the time, you know what I mean? If natural healing was a real thing, which it is, because people were existing before modern day medicine.
Absolutely.
Like we've been living for centuries and centuries. They didn't have any hospitals back in the day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? These all these different. They didn't have a what's my girl name that she just got in trouble? I can't stand that commercial. Oh my god, I mute my TV or turn it off every time it come on. I forgot what it is. Oh my god, that song just drives me crazy. But the point is, they didn't have all these things back in the day. But why would I want you to cure cancer when I make so much money off of dialysis and chemotherapy and XYZ and all that there? Like to your point, there's no way for me to make money. That's what we care about is money.
And that's why, see, the last 13 months, man, 13, 14 months or whatever it's been at this point now. Well, actually, I guess it really hadn't even been that long. But since I really started digging into and connecting with a functional medicine practitioner, man, it's hard for me to even go back to a traditional doctor anymore, man, because you're exactly right. Like they all they do is push medicine and not natural healing, not supplements to get you to a place where your body can heal itself. Yeah, they much rather push you. I think about my doctor, man, my PCM, who she's quick to, oh, well, your blood work said this, so I want to put you on. No, you're not putting me on anything.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're not putting me on anything. I'm not taking those drugs. So, and I know that traditional medicine has a place, but it's supposed to be, it's not supposed to be a permanent thing, right? Sometimes you need medicine of some sort to get you to a point, but then the point is to come off the medication, right, and do the right things.
Yeah.
But they want you to take something and take it forever, right? Because that's what the money is, right? Big pharma, you know, they're making money off prescription pills, and then the doctors are getting kickbacks, so they want to keep you on the pills. And so, yeah, it's a whole racket, man. I mean, yeah, cancer could have been cured probably a long time ago. A lot of these things could have, but
and the atrocity is, man, like, you know, my parents up there, it baffles me again because I'm not that dude. Like, I'm like Martin. I'm like Malcolm. Like, nah, bro. I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid. Like, I'm not doing it. I don't even drink I haven't drank Kool-Aid since '94. Like, because I don't do pork. But
yeah,
it's like don't feed that to me. You know what I mean? I think it's a straight up atrocity that you could go to the doctor and like you say, well, the blood work is saying this here and that there, and your levels are okay. But how about you try? We're gonna try this out. I don't know if it's gonna work or not, but we're gonna try this out. And come back and see me 4 to 6 weeks. And if it's not working, we could tweak it or we could try something else.
Right.
Now I'm not sure if that's gonna work either.
Yeah.
I always got something for you to try. Like, come on, people. Like it's so many, man. Like I don't even want to keep going on that. I think it's just sad. And I wish people would wake up. That's why I believe personally a prayer life is vital. A prayer life is important because what does the word tell you? Study to show thyself approved. There's no way in the world that you believe in a God Almighty that you really keep seeking information from him and you don't get the information that you need.
Yeah.
And guess what? When I get the information, I don't need it to make sense to nobody else. If I know that it came from him and he's telling it that's what's done, what Marvin Bennett Jr. needs to do, guess what I'm gonna do? No matter what Kev say, no matter what my son say, no matter because y'all don't trump him.
Right.
And what does the word tell us? Seek and ye shall find. Seek and ye shall find. So with all things, like it's like the scripture says, also with all things, get knowledge. Information is a powerful thing.
It sure is.
Information and you education yourself. Now let's start fact checking. Let's see where this information is coming from. Yeah. Is it coming from the powers that be? Is it coming from the earth? Is this something that worked for the indigenous people? Is this something that worked for the people in Africa thousands and thousands of years ago. Okay, then it might be something to this here, even though it's a root. Ugh, I don't like the way that tastes. And I'm done on it. I swear to God, I'm done after this. Black folk, let's stop doing that, because that's one of the things that's different between our cultures and all that. Girl, that's nasty. Guess what? When you go, no matter whether you go to Exxon, no matter whether you go to BP, no matter whether you go to Sheetz, any of those gas stations, one thing your car is not saying is this gas sure tastes good. This gas don't taste good. Fuel is not supposed to be meant to taste good. Like, we got to stop getting at that. Fuel food is nothing but fuel for the body. So you got to be careful what kind of, if you want your car to function right, if you want your body to function right, you got to be careful of the fuel that you put into your body.
That's facts. Yeah, that's facts. I mean, it'd be nice if it tastes good, but
yeah, it don't hurt nothing. But that's not the main objective.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And we got to stop making that the main objective. Nah. You know? I know better to come between the nigga and his bacon. Yo, that was so funny. Like,
man,
I just love the way his mind worked. Yo, you got a white family with all the niggas.
Me
like,
too. Yeah.
It don't get no cleverer than that.
It's a family.
Man, I just love it. It's so brilliant. I love it. I love its brilliancy, man. Yeah. But yeah, man. Look, man, I appreciate this time, man. Like I said, just let me know what the schedule will be like. I definitely got to get you back on, man, so we can get a little bit more into history. Because, like, I look at you like my history teacher. You know what I mean? So, and it's like a lot of these things, I don't really have the time or.
Much love, Kurt.
You know what I mean? Yeah, what's good, Kurt? I love you too, bro.
Yeah, much love, man.
You know, I don't really have the discipline to go out and get all these different knowledges. So I like when I do the spiritual thing, go get some of the information over here, you get that information over there, and we all come to collectively together and have like a little potluck of information and stuff like that there. But I like getting it from you with history, and that's Iran. That's the reason that it came up or was so fresh in my mind, because I've been studying. I had went back and watched the series Spartacus again, and I was like caught up in Spartacus again, and I'm like, well, what was really going on during this time of the Roman Empire and all these different things here, and Julius Caesar, and who was Gladius and Titus, and was what's my other man name? Was he real? Crixus a real character? Was that based off a real guy? There's different things here. Okay, biblically, who was Persian? That's how I came about Iran. When I went from Spartacus to watching 300.
Right.
Talking about the Persian army, how dominant the Persian army was at that time. Okay, in modern day America, who is Persian? Because I don't hear about Persia no more.
Iran.
Iran. So I was like, okay, yeah. Like, see, these are the type of kind of conversations I gotta have with Kev, because Kev can help paint the picture even better. You do better. Conversation with you is better than watching a documentary. You know what I'm saying? And I'm able to process the information a little bit better. You know what I mean? So, man, I like I said, I always appreciate time with you, man. You already know I love you, man. Always consider it a privilege and a pleasure to be able to pick your brain and just have regular conversations. And we definitely got to make it happen this year. And Kurt gonna be a part of it too, man. But we got to get a brothers weekend, whether we meet up somewhere just for a day or two, just to, love on each other, pause. We live in that era now, like, LeBar gonna be like, nah, ain't no loving on each other here. Yo, Cam and Mace done changed the game, man. With this pause, man. Everything is pause, but I really need it, man. And I know that I'm about to say, I know he said no doubt. But I was about to say, I know that Kurt could use it too, and Rodney could use it too, man. You know what I mean? Rest in peace again to Michelle, man. Our brother lost his sister, one of our own. So it's just like, while we still can and while we're still able-bodied, I just want to be able to spend some time with my brothers, chopping it up, no cameras on. You know what I mean? Just have a real conversation, chopping it up with my brothers, man, and having a good time, man, while we can, man. Because I always tell people, man, one thing and the older that I get, I learned this years ago, but in my personal opinion, I always say, one of the two things that we get in this life is only thing that we got in this life is pictures and memories. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
is it important to create these memories, you know what I mean, while we still can? Because
Yeah.
God forbid we get dementia or Alzheimer's and out there. We don't have the memory no more, but now we still got the pictures. Okay. Yeah,
Right.
I remember
Right.
that. Yeah, I remember. That's why I use it for the pre-show announcement, the picture of me, you, and Ev together. I'm like, God, I hate that picture because I was looking so young and just so out of whack. But that was more. That was a moment. You know what I mean? I'm able to look at that picture and say, you know, that's the three bros at Marwet and down in Albany, Georgia. You know what I'm saying?
I didn't even see. Well, you know, I never get on Facebook anymore, so
Yeah.
I didn't even see the picture. But yeah,
I used that one.
check
One of
it out.
you in the military and one of us, of course, with me, you, Mar, Bishop. You know what I mean? That's
Okay.
always up there. But yeah, man. Again, man, just thank you, man. Shout out to Felicia, man. To send her my love. Tell
Will
Kayla I
do.
love her, man. And man, I appreciate you, man. You got
For
anything for the
sure,
people
man.
before
Much
you get
love,
up
no
out of here?
doubt, man. Appreciate you having me on, bro. Yeah.
No doubt, man. All right, with that being said, man, I want to thank everybody for their time this afternoon. Thanks for rocking out with us. And I gotta go back and check, but I think tonight might have been another special show because I think tonight might have been. I'll say it again next week, but I think tonight might have been special because I think tonight might have been our 200th episode of the Marvin Bennett Jr. Show.
Wow.
Almost 4
Congrats,
years
bro.
strong now, bro. Like almost
Man,
4 years strong
congrats.
now, man. So I want to thank each and every one of y'all because I can't. Y'all make this possible. Y'all make this worth the while. And I just thank you guys for all your love, all your support, and rocking out with me, man. So I much appreciate you all. And as usual, in signing out, DeAndre, Elisha. Know that Daddy loves you intentionally, but I also love you unconditionally. So next week, peace.